Hello everybody and welcome back to Vintage Thursday. So as we gave you a little teaser of last week, today is introducing a new tractor. This is the last thing we introduced. This is the 550. So with the latest purchase we have brought vintage, or the vintage collection, really well up to date, and we are now firmly in the 1990s. So here we go. This is what we have added: a 3095. So nobody guessed it. We did have one or two little guesses last week in the comments, and everybody seems to think my next purchase, firstly they thought there was going to be one at some point, and secondly everybody was expecting a 590. But I've got all the 500 series I want in the 550, and I wanted a 3000 series. So it's quite windy, so we're just going to jump in the cab because I want to explain a little bit of history as to why I wanted to have a 3000 series. So why did I want a 3000 series? It all goes back to 1986 when the 3000 series was launched. So I wasn't really aware of the actual date of the launch, but it's widely known it was 1986. And I can remember my dad taking me and Ben, my brother, to the local dealer. I can remember it was dark, so it would have been an evening after school, so it was probably late in the year when these were launched. I'm not sure of the date. If you know the date they came out, stick it in the comments. But anyway, we got taken to the launch evening at the dealer of the 3000 series. And of course, I was tiny back in them days. I think I would have been 7 or 8 years old back in 1986, and of course these were big and shiny and new and totally alien to anything we had at the time and would ever go on to have. And during that evening I picked up this brochure. Okay, so this is a very kind of the first incarnation of the 3000 brochure, and also during that evening I picked up this 3000 badge. Okay, so that's the same photo on the leaflet. Okay, so it's the same photo on the leaflet and the badge. Now, these two things, they aren't the oldest pieces of memorabilia in my collection, but they probably are the first things I picked up myself and kept. Okay, so I do have older stuff, but it's stuff that I've bought since. These are the two things that started me off, really. And yeah, so we never ever had a 3000 here. Dad never bought a new one, didn't even buy a second-hand one. We just didn't have one here. We had the 300s here. We had a 390 and a 399 during the era that these were about. And it was always my ambition. I wanted to drive a 3000, and I achieved that in 1995 when I went to college. Lackham Agricultural College had a 3065 Datatronic and a 3090 Autotronic, and those are the first two that I drove. So I was at college for a year, and on and off for that year I drove the two 3000s that they had. And then after that there was a gap all the way up until 2012 when we bought ourselves a 3095, very second hand, very high hours, and we bought it primarily to feed the cows, to sit on the Keenan wagon. And that's what it was bought for, to sit on the wagon. While it was here, it did do a bit. It was actually very handy for slurry pipe reeling when we bought the umbilical system. It did a little bit of trailer work, a little bit of straw blowing into the sheds. That's about it, really. It was mostly yard based, but yeah. And that 3095 left us in 2017 when we traded that in for the 5712 we've got now. Ever since then I've kind of regretted selling it. I said I should have bought it from the farm, kept it in my collection, but it had a number of issues that they could have been sorted, but what we got, the trading price we got for it was next to nothing, and pretty much we should have kept it. Anyway, that's besides the point. That's done and finished now. So in my yearning for a 3000 for a long time, I've wanted either a 3070 or a 3075. Those being the two biggest 4-cylinders in the range. I am quite a fan of the 4-cylinder engine rather than the 6. and that was the reason I wanted kind of, you know, one of the two bigger 4-cylinder ones. And over the last kind of 18 months or so, I have put a little bit of effort into finding a 3070 or a 3075, because I was in the position then that I could afford one, you know, as long as the price was sensible. So I was looking and 3075s just don't come up for sale. You know, they're very popular and very highly valued, really. And I didn't see a 3070 that was sensible. I saw a 3085 back in an auction, probably end of last year. Didn't really like it. So when I kind of decided now was the time to start looking for something, I have got to know another YouTuber, Massey Man, quite well over the last year or so. And he works, for those of you that don't know, he's got his own channel. I will link it at the end. Go and watch that. But he works for Chandler's, the Massey Ferguson dealership. And I said to him, what you need to do is you need to sell somebody with a 3075 a new tractor, and then take that 3075 as a trade-in, and then I can have it. So he looked at a few over a year or so. A few came his way, kind of thing, and he wouldn't sell me them. They weren't good enough. He wouldn't send them down here. Until this one came along as a trade-in. He said it's not a 3075, it's a 3095. You know, what do you reckon to it? So I said, yeah, I quite like the look of that. It is, apart from the fact it's 6-cylinder, everything else is what I was looking for. So that is the history of why I wanted one, how I ended up with this one. Let's get outside, back out in the wind, and have a look round. So when I started looking for a tractor, and what I wanted more than anything was a nice straight tractor. Straight panels, no rust. I didn't mind a few mechanical issues, because a tractor of this age, no matter what colour it is, it's going to have some issues. It took me, now these are renowned for electronic issues or electrical issues. They weren't the first Massey Ferguson tractors to have electronic linkage and all that. That was, the very first was the 4000 series American built articulated tractors, and then the 2005 series had it. But the 3000 series was kind of the ones that get remembered. You know, they were the mass produced, and maybe the more popular perhaps, but anyway, there's a lot of them about. So they were early in the electronic control systems, but they weren't the first. And that fact that they are renowned for having issues did put me off for a long time. Do I really want to buy one? Can I, do I want to buy potential electronic issues? I'm okay at fixing the mechanical stuff. The electronical stuff, not really my thing. But I decided I'd want one for long enough. I would have to learn to fix electrical stuff. And it does have some electrical issues, which we will cover in the future. But anyway, what I wanted was straight panels, straight paint, and as little rust as possible, because these you know, as with anything 30 plus years old, they rust. These are renowned. These handrails often go, but these are sound at the bottom. The doors often go. He's getting some little rust spots in it. This door is better than the far side, but they're certainly not rusted through in holes. And these wings are also a known problem, and as you can see, it's starting to go, but a sandblast and paint will save them. And I have just recently bought myself a little sandblaster. I haven't got round to buying any grit for it yet, but this is stuff that can be taken off, blasted, resprayed and put on. Yeah, so we have all straight panel work. It comes with a nice little set of weights. So there was two sizes of weights for these. The 45 kilos were the bigger ones, and these are 27, so the slightly smaller size. And also this tractor has up and underneath on the front axle casting a belly weight. As far as I'm aware, the belly weight was an option, but a lot of 6-cylinders do seem to have it. So around this side, if we get at the sun, it's all straight. There's a little bit more rust in this door, but it's certainly not holes, and a clean and repaint will save that. It needs a good service. I've got all the filters and oil to go in it, and because those of you that know Massey Ferguson tractors will know the red writing on the filter disappeared a long time ago, so it's well overdue an engine oil change. Yes, so it's all complete. Tyres are down, but it's straight, it's not bashed about, it's not rusted out, and that is what I wanted more than anything. More than the model number, or more than the model, I wanted the condition to be right. And you can tell it is straight out of work. It's not even been washed, so it needs cleaning, it needs servicing. So one big thing that Chandler's did do before they sent it down, it had a steering issue which they traced to a failed or failing hydraulic pump in the back end. So it has had all new back end oil, filters, and a brand new hydraulic pump. So that is a good thing. So hydraulic, we shouldn't have any hydraulic pump issues for the foreseeable future. Other than that, all the glass is in the cab except for this piece. So there is a silicone hinge in the window here, and that folds open a few inches for ventilation. So that is missing on this side, but it's present on the far side. That is the only bit of glass that's missing, but it has been replaced, so nothing, the cab isn't wet inside. In the cab, again, they can rust underneath here, get water trapped in underneath the flooring, but it's all sound. The rubber mat is good, all the plastic panels are good. We have a passenger seat, which again is an optional extra. It's a bit tatty, but easily repairable. The fact that it's there, is good. We do have several old pairs of pants in the back, but that's fine. I have already replaced the gas struts on the window because they were gone. So now we have a window that stays open. And everything, all the levers, spool levers, everything is intact. We have a radio, we have air conditioning, fan all works, wiper works, air conditioning doesn't work. So all the cab interior is good. It's not got wet, it's a bit dusty, but that's to be expected. And it has 10,939 hours, which is high, but it is 30 years old. So, chances of finding a low hour one are slim. So we're going to take a break off here. I've put it back in the shed and remembered something I should have said. You might see on the camera the wiper has scratched the screen during its travel. It's clearly been run with no rubber on there. Is there any product anywhere, maybe like a polish of some kind? Can that scratch be polished out? Let me know in the comments. Is there any way of saving this windscreen? Can I somehow get rid of that scratch mark? If you can see it, hopefully you can see it. Yeah, leave me a comment. I don't particularly want to change the screen, but if there's some, like I say, like a polishing compound or something, take that out. Let me know, please. So the biggest drawback to what that I can find so far to this cab, there are very few places with exposed metal. Okay, now that's important to somebody like me when we use a camera that sticks on a magnetic mount. Okay, your camera's not going to stick on there. You'll notice at the start of the video I did have it mounted up here, so that's that's a bonus, but there's nowhere else to stick it. Very few other places to mount a camera, so yeah, that's an issue, but we'll overcome it. So what are we going to do with this tractor? It has been here well over a month now, and I was hoping to use it a little bit for maybe some rolling or a bit of power harrowing, but because I haven't serviced it, I haven't changed the oil, I've not wanted to use it yet, and just haven't had a chance to get to it. But we will be in the future. We'll be here to work a little bit. It will retire now it's here, but it will do a little bit. But there's a number of jobs that need doing before we put it under too much pressure. So there we go. That's a bit of the why. Why did I want one? Why did I end up with this one? So refer back to our leaflet. So the 3095 wasn't a launch model. Okay, so when they came out, there was the 3080 and the 3090 with the two 6-cylinder ones. So the 3080, I can quote, was 9. So the 3080 was 97 horsepower, and the 3090 was 107 horsepower. Both out of the same engine. The 3080 and the 3090 used the Perkins A6354 engine, which was very closely related to what we have in the 1200. But by the time the 3085 and the 3095 came out, they had moved on an engine. That was the 1000 series phaser engines. But as far as I'm aware, the horsepower remained the same, but this does have the uprated kind of later model engine. Something else that this tractor has, you probably will have noticed it, it has a Dynashift gearbox. So that was launched in 1992, and this is a late 1992 tractor. But one thing I don't know, I'm not up on when those models changed over. I don't know when the 3085 and 95 and all that started. So if you know, if you're up on your history better than I am, leave us a comment. When did the 3095 come out? I know the Dynashift came out in 1992. This is built in December 92, so it would have been reasonably early in the Dynashift kind of era. So as far as I can tell, this seems to be a reasonably high spec tractor. It's got a lot of options. It's got air conditioning, it's got the Dynashift, it's got front weights, it's got extendable mirrors. You can't see them, but that was an option. I think trailer brakes was still an option in those days. We've got those, which makes it, a handy, usable tractor still. The one big option it doesn't have is Datatronic, which would be in this section here. So that's like that's your performance monitor, your measures your fuel use and your area covered and your wheel slip and all that. We don't have that. I'm not particularly concerned about not having that. It would be more issues, I would imagine, and something that I personally wouldn't get a lot of use out of, as basically just a toy really. So I'm not too concerned that that's missing, but I do like to have, I'm quite pleased that another passenger seat was another option. That's another handy thing to have. So yeah, I think this would have been quite a high spec machine, but it does obviously miss the Datatronic, but that's fine. I'm not concerned about that either way. So there we go. I think we've kind of covered everything. Like I said, I do have a list of jobs that need doing. We're just, as as time goes on, we will do it. Hopefully get it up to a condition where I'm happy with it and can jump on it and go and bring a load of bales home or something like that. That's what I want it for, to do with the odd job now and then. So right, what we want in the comment section is, have you driven a 3000? We want everybody's recollections or experiences of 3000s. What can go wrong with them, what I need to look for. I keep saying, I do already have a list of things that need doing, but what do I need to look out for? What do I need to check? Let me know, because this is all new to me. So I have waited a long time to get one of these tractors. Now there's finally one here. Now the real work starts of getting it in a condition that I'm happy with, and we'll preserve it for the next 30 years at least. And equally we can get on and use it as and when we need to. So there we are. Don't forget, leave your comments, your experiences, and particularly if you know the dates of the model changeovers, because that's something I'm not aware of and would be handy to know. So there we go. We are back to proper old-fashioned Vintage Thursday next week, because we have got the TVO 35 out. So that'll be coming up next week. So come back for that. And I will say thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction. And rest assured that 3095 will be appearing as time goes on. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.